Shalom, family, and happy Sabbath. Today is March the 7th, 2026. If you're watching this video on the Sabbath, I hope this video blesses you in some way. I'm going to be watching a few clips, just reminded of the truth of the Bible that Jesus was a black man, that Jesus came from, or that we descend from his ethnic stock, that we come from the 12 tribes of Israel. And we need to continuously remind ourselves of this because it is the truth. And we know there's a lot going on in the Middle East right now. There's a lot going on here in America with the stock market and so many other things. Gas prices are on the rise. But one thing remains is that the scriptures say that God's word is settled in heaven. And we know the end because our forefathers have wrote it down in our records, and we can trust in those things and be blessed in them. So I hope this video blesses you in some way. And with that, let's get into it.
By the white people for the last 200 years, and we've been lying to them.
By now, everybody's seen these images that have been released by Russia. My guy in the video said that when black people see these images, they should be upset, and you would think so, right? Have a look at this image here. This is Ebony magazine from March 1969, almost exactly 55 years ago. This cover of Ebony magazine was released, and then you know what? You would think that everybody would be excited to see this image, right? Well, guess again. Black people were so upset to see this image on the cover of a black magazine that they threatened to cancel their subscription, and Ebony almost went out of business.
First of all, isn't that crazy? I don't want to get into all of it because you got people who don't even who can't believe, can't fathom. They're like, "Oh, we were beaten to subjection and given white Jesus. Christianity is a white man religion. All this other craziness." I'm not going to get into that in this clip, but it's amazing that at one point it was obvious the editorial team of Ebony magazine presented that to our community, and people had I want to say conniption. People freaked out about it. Like, make that make sense, because it is the truth. One, that Jesus was black, but again, this Stockholm syndrome, this irrational perspective of ourselves, this defeatist mentality, it exists in our community. We lost our identity. That's a part of the curses of God. So it's not a coincidence that our people rejected that image and said, no, we don't want that. We want the European image of it. It's not a coincidence that that exists, but that's what God promised would happen to our people when we broke the covenant, that we would forget our identity and that we would essentially hate ourselves and turn inward.
So what does that say about us, huh? Are we so indoctrinated, or do we hate ourselves that much to where we don't want to see a savior that looks like us? The crazy part about all this is we're not the only ones that have been lied to. Everybody has been lied to. The biggest difference is us as a people have had our culture, our language, our identity, and our history stripped from us, among other things. You ain't tired yet?
Yeah, he's speaking the truth. I mean, it's kind of hard to disagree with the fact that it is a true statement to say that other people were impacted in history. This is why Elon Musk will tweet things like, every human civilization practiced slavery. That's why he can tweet stuff like that. But no people on earth was impacted in the way that our people were impacted. You lost your language, you lost your culture, you lost your heritage, you lost your names. You still carry your slave names. A lot of us carry our not our ancestors' last names. We carry our slave owners' last names. So that was according to prophecy. But again, like he mentioned in this video, you still got people who are holding on to the slavery that God sent us into rather than coming out of it, which is crazy. Let's continue.
When somebody tells you Jesus is black and you say, color doesn't matter, or I don't care if he was blue, black, green, or purple, it's a form of self-hatred. You have a self-loathing personality, okay? And let me explain what I mean when I say that. When somebody tells you Christ is black and you immediately jump to that answer, that's because you can't see yourself being better than who you are. If you understood that Christ was black, you would not have hatred towards your own brother and sister. You would not want to kill, steal, disrespect the next brother or sister because you don't see Christ in them. That's why you do it. If you understood that Christ was black like you would not be wearing wigs all day, sisters. If you understood Christ looked like you, brother, you would not disrespect the next man just because he stepped on your shoe by accident. You would not want to kill him because of that. You would understand like, oh, okay, let me just, let me talk to him. Let me explain some things. Let me have a conversation with this brother. You don't see Christ in one another. That's why y'all disrespect each other. Y'all don't see Christ in one another. That's why you will go down to the abortion clinic and kill that baby before it's even born. You understand what I'm saying? So knowing that Christ is black is very key, because if you knew that, you would treat each other with the utmost respect instead of treating the opposite people with all the respect in the world and looking at your brothers and sisters like the scum of the earth. Self-hatred.
She's absolutely right. I'm just going to stop her. But she's absolutely right. That's why it's so pivotal in our community, to present Christ accurately. And it's not just we're depicting Christ as black because it makes us have a more of a connection to the Bible. No, our people are naturally spiritual. You can see it. There's testimonies of slaves during slavery being whipped, being beaten, being flogged, being branded like animals, praying. There are testimonies of slaves who were being beaten, and their master told them to stop praying, and they wouldn't stop. They said no matter what, they were still going to pray to their God. That's faith. But so what does that say? That says that our people are naturally spiritual, which is, we have a very close connection to the Most High God. But as she said, without the laws of God, we are acting exactly like she described in this video. We're acting beastly. We're going to the abortion clinic, aborting our babies, which is murder. We're killing each other in the street, which is a violation of the law. Love your neighbor as yourself. Those commandments were given to us by God, and we were told to keep them. And guess what? We are the most impacted by them when we don't obey them. Other nations are not keeping the laws of God, and they're flourishing. The understanding is that if you can't see it, if you can't see the fact that the laws, when we're not keeping them, we endure immense curses. It's not that the Europeans colonized us. It's not that, we were a sinful people per se. It's because we weren't keeping God's commandments. God is gracious. But at the same time, when we think about the commandments of God, you have other nations who are not keeping them, but they're flourishing. But you have our people who aren't keeping the commandments. We're not flourishing. So the one-to-one system is keep God's commandments, and then God will shine his face on our people. And then we won't be killing each other in the streets. We won't be aborting our baby, our women wearing weave in their head, our women not covering their heads, or our brothers and sisters honoring pagan feast days like Christmas and Easter and all these other things. All that stuff will be done away with. Let's continue.
I believe Jesus Christ was black, and the mainstream is trying to hide that information. And here are the verses that lead me to believe that he was black. This is Revelation chapter 1, verses 13 through. This is John speaking. John was an apostle of Jesus Christ, and he's having a vision on an island, okay? And he's saying, and in the middle of the lampstands, I saw one like a son of man, clothed in a robe reaching to the feet, and girded across his chest with a golden sash. His head and his hair were white, like white wool, like snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire, and his feet were like burnished bronze. The reason why I think Jesus is black is because of this part, burnished bronze. This is a brown color. Let me show you. This is burnished bronze, as you can see on Google. You can Google this yourself. This is a black person. Now, some people be like, oh, well, John's just having a vision. It doesn't mean it's actually what it was. But you know that God is giving John the vision, right? God is allowing John to see all this stuff, the future, to see Christ. And God showed him Christ as a burnished bronze colored man. Okay, so that's what he looks like. Now, if you're already...
I want to just stop right there because, you know, he's right. But I would put some existential emphasis on it. And what existential means is just like, just making it plain, like existence stuff, everyday practical stuff. John walked with him, talked with him, ate with him. They were like brothers. They were like brothers. So he's seeing his homie again. That's who John is seeing. He's like, man, like I'm seeing this vision. This is the revelation of the guy I was walking with and talking with. His hair was woolly. His skin was bronze. He's describing the man that he had walked with for several years and fellowship with. And honestly, you know, we can make it plain because the scriptures are plain. They're rooted in reality. But he did a good job still.
Triggered by this video and you find yourself saying, nah, Jesus was not black, and don't you say that he was. If that's how you feel, then possibly there's a deeper and darker, pun intended, issue within you that you need to check. John continues, this is chapter 4 of Revelation. Immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was standing in heaven, and one sitting on the throne. And he who was sitting was like a jasper stone and a sardius in appearance. Sardius is a reddish brown. This is a dedicated red, brown, dark tan color. Is there any historical backing for Jesus being black outside of the Bible? Well, there's certainly a lot of artwork that depicts Jesus as black. This is a painting from 1797 in Russia of a black Jesus. And some people might be like, oh, well, maybe they just didn't have the skin color.
Now, I mean, you look at that complexion. I mean, that's questionable. You look at the hair. I mean, let's be honest, that's questionable. So, I mean, I don't know if this is part of satire or if he's being jokey or what, but there are Russian icons that are much darker than those, the one that he's depicting there. And then not only that, but all around the earth, not just with Christ, but all around the earth, all of the gods were depicted as black, as dark. All of them. All of them. And it wasn't until later that they started to whitewash everything through iconoclasm.
For white. Well, look at the halo. The halo is certainly light colored. They could have painted Jesus white if they wanted to, but they didn't. They didn't. Why would they do that? Because Jesus is probably actually black. This is a 1497 painting in Russia. Look at these apostles. These are the disciples. Black men with afros. Afro, 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 all over. Jesus, the Messiah, as a black man with an afro. These are white Russians painting a black Jesus and black disciples. So you got to ask yourself, why are they doing this? Are they doing this because they just love black people so much? Or are they just trying to be accurate? I could do this all day, really.
Yeah, so he's just going to go on. I mean, he's going to show you some more icons, but the fact of the matter remains, Russia has icons that depict our ancestors accurately, and that's what matters the most.